Hi, my name is Cecila Munoz, and I am here from my home in Silver Spring, Maryland. I am an expert in domestic policy with more than 30 years of experience in Washington on issues of civil rights, education, immigration, healthcare, and beyond. I served in President Obama's White House as his Director of Intergovernmental Affairs, and then for 5 years, as his Director of Domestic Policy. I'm the person in our history who has served the longest in that role so far. I'm not a gun person in the sense that nobody in my immediate family has ever owned a gun, but I'm from Michigan, which is a state with a rich tradition of outdoor sports and hunting. Some of my family are hunters, and I respect their love for the sport and their careful stewardship of their firearms. My immediate family, attends a summer camp with the riflery program. So I'm not anti-gun. But my experience and my common sense makes me pro background checks, pro red flag laws, pro bans on automatic weapons and high capacity magazines. And that is not inconsistent with being okay with guns. I'm grateful to say that I am not a parent who has lost a child to gun violence, but I am a parent who has had to shelter her children from it. I live in Silver Spring, Maryland, and in 2002, we lived for several weeks with a sniper in the area who shot at people, at my neighbors, at gas stations, at hardware store parking lots, and in front of schools. My daughter's school had a gymnasium in a separate building, and for weeks, they had no PE classes because it was too dangerous for the children to walk from one building to the other. We learned after the sniper was apprehended, after weeks in which my two children were terrorized because their schools were on constant alert, that the sniper and his accomplice had regularly parked their car, the car from which they shot their victims, in the parking lot at the Silver Spring YMCA while they worked out in the gym. That's our YMCA. I was in that parking lot every day during that period with my children. It was my younger daughter's bus stop. We were very near the violence that took so many lives that year, and it left a mark on my children and on me. I'm also aware that I'm giving this testimony on the day which is the anniversary of the shooting at Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston, and that there was another shooting at a church in Alabama this week. I was serving in the Obama White House when the Mother Emanuel shooting happened, and we felt a deep sense of horror at that tragedy and a profound sense of frustration that Congress was not willing to act despite the carnage. And I will never forget the day of the Sandy Hook shooting, which President Obama has described as the darkest day of his presidency. I was in a meeting that day with a top-ranking official at the Justice Department, and he shared with me that he had seen photos of the carnage at Sandy Hook. With a shaking voice, he told me that, even as a law enforcement official, he had never seen anything like that, and he could barely believe that such a thing, the slaughter of small children, could be possible anywhere, let alone in the United States. Well, we know that it's possible. It happens with appalling regularity, but only here, only in the United States. We are not more violent than other human beings in other countries in the United States. We are not more mentally ill. The only thing which explains why the United States is unique on the planet for the carnage of gun violence is our access to guns and our inability to restrict that access in any meaningful way. We have more controls for buying Sudafed at the drugstore than we have for purchasing firearms. We have more training and safety measures for driving a car than we have for owning and using firearms. We expect our government to keep our children safe from all kinds of other dangers, from dangerous toys and equipment, but we do nothing to protect them from the dangers of gun violence, which is now the leading killer of children and teens in America. Nowhere else on earth is this true. And the reason for that is our failure to create any restrictions at all to the ownership and use of guns. This is not what the Second Amendment requires, nor is it what the American public wants. The overwhelming majority of our public supports reasonable measures like background checks to ensure that guns do not end up in the wrong hands. It is completely crazy and so dangerous that our politics makes us incapable of doing what the American people want. This means that we are failing to do what is most fundamental for a government, which is to keep the people safe. And we're failing at our most sacred obligation as human beings, which is to keep our children safe. It happens over and over and over. We know why it happens, and yet we refuse to stop it. This is a sickness in our country, and it is a sign that our democracy is broken. We have failed to do what the vast majority of people in America demand, which is reasonable common sense gun laws. We are protecting a minority which insists on extreme policies which are putting us all in danger. If we cannot fix this problem, it's not just that I fear for our children, I also fear for our democracy because it is failing to do what the public wants and what the people need. I am one of many, many people testifying in this effort to ask our legislators to find the courage to do what is right, to protect our children, and to restore our faith in what our democracy can do. Thank you.